Tom.
And I'm Tanner.
Welcome to episode 165 of Bird Squad. We're back.
Yep, we're back again, as always, on a Wednesday. Coming off the open practice, a couple more signings, a couple good signs from, still continued more signs, good signs from camp. Sorry. But we'll start off with the open practice. Huge success as always, huge turnout, 50,000 fans for an open practice, almost filled the link for a practice. So as always, Birds fans showing out.
Yeah, we're talking practice. But yeah, I mean, again, we talked last week about showing up for the Kelly Green, jerseys and all that hype, and then wow, fill up that place for a practice, for an open practice. There's no fan base out there like ours. None. I don't care what people say. There is no fan base that is that excited about a team, a city. You just play in Philly, it hits different. If you're successful in Philly, it hits different.
Yeah, man. I mean, people, obviously the expectations are high this year, excitement is high, but I mean, people are turning out, people are getting ready, and once again, nothing but good things coming out of camp. No, someone's struggling, someone's not looking good. For the most part, injuries are fine, other than a little banged ups here and there, but just day-to-day stuff. So, continuing as we get closer to these open practices, getting closer to these joint practices and these preseason games to see kind of who's going to play, who's not going to play, what comes out of those. Good signs so far all around from everyone. And then the sneaky signings this week.
Miles Jack and the other guy.
Yeah, Zach Cunningham.
Zach Cunningham. Wow. It's Howie season.
It's
again,
something
man.
we said it right after the draft. That was a position that how they usually operate. They kind of let the smokes settle a little bit and then sign some veteran guys at the linebacker position and see what happens.
Howie's getting in a good flow of these one-year deals. You know what I mean? Like last year with Linval Joseph, Dominican Sue. Now he just rolls in two linebackers.
Yeah, and two guys that should, they're not like what they used to be, but Miles Jack
he was a first-round pick.
Let alone, even if he doesn't perform, let alone just a mentor for Nakobe Dean in that linebacker room. Someone that he can lean on to know more information and stuff like that. But I think that's a guy that can produce, and not a guy that's going to be a home run hitter or a guy that's going to be a Pro Bowler on this team, but a guy that is going to be a solid piece in that middle rotation that we know is always a little iffy.
Yeah, he adds, like you said, a little veteran presence in that locker room. He also brings, both these guys bring a little bit more competition. Competition is what makes you better, right? You either accept that and you grow, or you hide from it. And I don't think it's a knock on Nakobe.
No, not at all.
I just think really they looked at that position and said, we need some depth there.
Exactly.
We let some guys go, and we need to replace them on the roster and build some depth.
100%. I don't see it as, we don't think Nakobe's doing good in camp and we're going to replace him. I think that's just added depth, like you said, to have that backup plan. Because I still think Nakobe is due for a breakout season, going to get that chance to be that guy this year, without a doubt. I know he's nursing a little bit of a hamstring or something here in camp early. But yeah, I think it's mostly a depth thing. That's kind of how they always operated the linebacker position, finding these older guys to bring in and kind of see how camp folds out. But as we get closer to these practices and these games, it's always the question of who plays, who doesn't play, who do you want to see, who don't you want to see. And I think they handled it well. Obviously 3 games helps tone that down a little bit. They usually see them for one drive. I think what worked last year, I know Jalen got popped in that drive against the Jets, but
yeah,
I think one drive, I think it's one of those things that
I don't even know if he sniffs the field this year.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things that people, you do one drive and you're done. If it doesn't execute, that's fine.
Let's talk about, too, the 100 best players came out.
Yeah,
right?
number 3.
And he's number 3. You know who else was number 3?
I don't know.
Carson Wentz was number 3.
Following 2017.
Yeah. So that where you feel we were Wentz people, but man, I feel way better with this kid
Yeah, I mean, not just Jalen
Number
at 3, but the list was littered with birds. Devontae at 99, AJ was at 28, Slay, Kelsey.
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things I'm just want to see this year. The Slim Reaper, just take another step.
Yeah.
Just, man, the dude, I say it all the time, and we're down there at every game. The dude is open every play. I say it every freaking game. He is open every play.
100%. And it's great to see because we knew what he was going to be and knew what he could be his rookie year, and had a great rookie year without even really being the main guy when he should have been the main guy. And then last year with AJ coming in, still being that breakout guy. Obviously, AJ gets a lot of the attention, but he really came into his own, getting more attention from the league. And, I mean, you could argue that they're the best duo in the league. We could argue that last year, but now with another year under Devontae's belt, you could argue AJ and Devontae are the best tandem wide receivers in the league.
And you got to feel like Goddard's ready to just take another step. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That's something I've said a long time with Goddard. I was an Ertz guy. I liked Ertz. But Goddard's athleticism is so much higher than Ertz that, not saying that he's a better player than Ertz, but he adds another dimension that Ertz never really had, because Ertz couldn't go after the catch. He had no yak, no yak zag. So agreed. I mean, ever since Ertz has been traded, Goddard has been nothing but great and has been continuing to get better each year. And if he stays on the field, I know he was a little nicked up last year, but he's extending. I mean, we can talk about the offense all day, and we have.
I can't wait to see what Swift is going to add to this
offense. I've heard nothing but great things with him. And that's the big thing. Running backs, I mean, in preseason games, people need to play. You know what I mean? People have to play somehow because someone has to play the games. And you got so many running backs on your roster. You look at the running backs. Swift, iffy guy with health. Do you put him out there? I don't know. Penny, same way. Yeah. What do you do?
I think they're going to give a real big look at that Trey Sermon.
I think so too.
I feel like he is a hidden gem, but, I don't know. The room's just crowded.
Because that's what I mean. You got Swift and you got Penny. Guys that you don't necessarily know if you want to run out there because of their health history. A lot of people go, oh, well, then you put Gainwell. But you don't know how much they really have plans for him. There's a lot of rumors that he's been taking a lot of reps in the first teams and this and that. Had a huge postseason last year for us and the Super Bowl. So that's not really a guy you're just going to throw out there to take snaps. And I agree. I think Sermon is going to get a good chunk. And then Boston's probably going to hang around. He's a special teamers guy and always can bring a pop in that room. So it is going to be weird. I mean, you're going to have also regular bodies from camp too, a bunch of running backs that you have. But the room is crowded, and it's a good crowded competition. Not a lot of a lot of kind of classic Eagles. Kind of if you look back at 2017, it's a committee. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of those things that it's going to be a running back from committee. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, well, Swift's going to be your guy. Or this Penny might get a chance to break out. I think it's going to be like when it was Ajayi, Blunt, Clement, kind of situation-based, what fits best for which. And as Deuce always said back then, feed the hot hand. If some guy's clipping it, you're going to keep going with it.
Man. Whoever's hot, feed them,
Yeah.
And then, like we said last week, I mean, you look at the roster, the on paper, whoo.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you win nothing on paper, right?
Of course.
The thing though that and we might have touched on this last week is I just feel like they're coming back with that Super Bowl left a bad taste in their mouth.
Yes.
Right?
They are not content with what happened last year.
No, not content at all with what happened. And I feel like, what my man used to say after every game, we left money on the table, right? We left money on the table. They left money on the table in that Super Bowl. And they had to think about that for how many months.
Yeah.
So they're coming back with focus.
100%. And yeah, that is something we touched on a little bit last week, that there is no really concern of drive or kind of a Super Bowl hangover, you got to account for it a little bit. It does exist as much as it's a stereotype and people want to make it bigger than it is. It lingers. It does. And the big thing is, like we've talked about, that you can't really have too much because that middle back end of the schedule, it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet this year with you got Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, a bunch in a row. You know what I mean? So like we'll give you a little bit on the hangover, but not too much. And I don't expect a huge thing. I mean, you got some games in the beginning that are good tests, but nothing crazy. You know what I mean?
The biggest thing, like we always talk about, is just staying healthy. And that, you know, being a fan for many years, that is the number one thing, man. If you can just stay healthy, wow. Because when those injuries start piling up and you're playing backups and, you know, next man up mentality, that gets a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that world of having everyone practically on the IL and everything. So,
dead.
Yeah,
you know,
so we've been there, you know, how that can derail a season. And luckily they were pretty healthy last year. And the trend usually would say it's not going to be like that this year. But like you mentioned before, since kind of the conditioning and health kind of trainers kind of flipped over, it's been a little better. But yeah, that's always going to be the big denominator of can you stay healthy? Can you keep the guys on the field? And I like the way Saucy runs his practices. What I've heard is they go out, they get their stuff done, and they get out. You know what I mean? They don't linger. They take care of business. People are focused. People are getting done what's right, and they're not out there for how long just banging each other. And
they get done what they got to get accomplished, and then boom.
Exactly. I mean, Saucy's got a tight ship running, and I think he continues every day to prove people wrong. Just him alone, if you look back when he started his tender to where he is now, I think there's people down him even last year still, and there's people down him this year without his coordinators from last year. But I have all the faith in Saucy, and I think he's fit the mold. He's embraced the city, and the team's embracing him. So
yeah, I mean, you look. We've touched on this before, but you look at coaches since Lurie took this team. I mean, they seem to have the Midas touch in these interviews, picking the right guy.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's going to be exciting to see Saucy back for his third year.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just looking forward to everything about this team this year.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not
just
be?
Chomping at the bit to get this season rolling. I mean, that Thursday night home opener, you know, I totally, you know, expect them to go up to New England in that opener and make a statement.
I agree, too. I mean, we're 33 days, I believe, if I remember correctly, till the opener. Not the home opener, but the opener up in New England. And obviously we'll look a little closer into that game when we get closer after preseason, see what's going on. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll get deeper into the New England game in a couple weeks. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like we know, it's all exciting. Good time of year. Things are looking good and sounding good so far coming out of camp. So we'll see what things go on and be back next Wednesday as always. And I think next week we get back and we're prepping for a preseason game. Not that, but we'll see Birds football again. Not that that's the greatest thing in the world.
Prepping for a preseason game against the Browns. And I usually don't go to preseason games. But my little grandson, 5 years old, wants to go to see the Birds game. First Birds game. So Poppy is taking him down to the first Birds game of his life.
Yeah, should be fun. So we'll be back, as always, next Wednesday. So thank you guys always for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at birds_squawk. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Go Birds.